Good evening, guys, and happy Friday to all of your sunshiny faces. Thought it was Saturday because my dad was home from work today, and I think he'll be home from work on Monday also. So we got sort of a lot of projects done, I guess. We ended up getting well, we went to Valley Produce and Caputo, so I was going to share with you guys my haul, but we came home just to drop the stuff off and then ended up leaving again so that we could go to Menards to get all the stuff that we needed to finish up all of our projects for this weekend. So we ended up getting another piece of wood that will actually be enough because of what we already have. It should be enough to be able to finish another 2, and we had the one that we got from last week, so we actually should be able to do another 3 beds, and we finished one last week, so we have all the material now to actually completely finish 3 more beds. So we'll have 4 in extras. You know, they'll have to be like late crops and things like that, since a lot of stuff should have probably been planted already. But again, you know, so that got done, or we got this stuff for that. We also ended up getting the motion sensor light that we're going to do behind the garage. This is a little small one compared to the bigger one that we have. And then also we ended up getting a, like, we had to get some of the other things for that, I think, like the switch and, like my dad I think had the pipe, but the thing was we actually ran out of that. So that was the project we worked on for today, and then ended up running out of pipe, so we still have to go back to Menards tomorrow and get more of that. We also realized too, because I planted all the squash all in one bed: zucchini squash, summer squash, acorn squash, spaghetti squash, and butternut squash. All 5 of those all in one bed. And which I did 5 mounds last year of just summer squash and zucchini, so I feel like they should, you know, we should still have enough room for all of that. On top of that too though, when I did that, I realized that our Soko hose now doesn't reach far enough, so we needed to get another 2 of those for the next sections of the beds that we're doing, since again it only has about half enough distance for the one that's there, so we need to have about another, like, you know, a full one for that, plus the next bed that will be going on after that. We need to have another hose because it covered about 3 worths of bed, 3, almost 4, but not completely. So that's why, again, we should need another one to do the next, you know, again, 1.5 sort of, because like I said, it covered about 3.5 lengths worth of beds. So yeah, we need that. But we got, again, the stuff for the projects for doing that. We got a new hummingbird feeder. We ended up getting, I'm trying to think too, we got a whole bunch of random stuff that we were like, we need this to finish this, we need this. We got another thing of pea gravel, more dirt for the next bed that we can get put in. Again, we ended up getting a whole bunch of other just random stuff, you know, that kind of thing. So again, our projects were to finish. Oh, I also got the flowers for the potted plants for the bistro lights that we're going to do. So tomorrow, again, we need to run to Jewel, Aldi, and to Menards again, and we can get to projects and finish up all that stuff, which would be really awesome. On top of that, guys, the other thing, my dad, in between when we went to Aldi and to Menards, my dad ended up calling the city to ask a couple things about, like, what do we need a permit for, like if we're gonna do, you know, XYZ, do we need a permit? Like, we need to replace our garage door, not the actual like garage door, but like the door to get into the garage. When our tree fell on it like years ago, it ended up knocking it sort of off of the not track, but like the and again, not the garage door the car goes through, the one you walk through. That one ended up, again, when the tree fell on it, it came off of like the frame sort of, and so we need to actually get a whole new pre-hung door frame along with the actual door. So, because it's all sort of, it is messed up. It just, we have it bungee corded so that it closes. It's pretty crazy. So anyways, we need one that actually, you know, you open it up and you can close it. So, like I said, we don't have that currently. There's one on sale at Menards that I think we're going to order it tomorrow because it's the last day of the sale. But like we were calling to like find out like, okay, if we are, you know, just replacing an existing, so basically if you're replacing an existing, you know, again, door or whatever, you know, you don't need a permit for any of that kind of stuff. But because I looked it up today, because I was like, I wonder if we need one for doing the paver patio in the backyard. And we do. But because we were thinking about doing it, and then we were like debating, like, should we have somebody, you know, hire somebody to do it? And after a while, again, calling the city and asking, they were like, yes, you do need a permit. And in order to have one, you also have to have like, you know, like, okay, how are you planning on doing it? We, you know, have to have some type of like a plan, you know, like what, you know, like drawing sort of, layout, you know, that sort of thing, as far as like what we plan on doing. And we are just, you know, again, gonna sort of roll with it, I guess, and like whatever, you know, we end up deciding on. But that's why like we'd have to go through that whole process of doing it, whereas my dad was like, okay, I think that's kind of what pushed us over, of like, we're just gonna hire somebody to do it, and to put in a paver patio. So anyways, like I said, there's that. Then, so we're not going to do that ourselves. But then we also too, we were asking about putting a new roof on our deck because there's holes in it. After we power washed it too, we were like, we want to try and keep this as nice as possible. And we again need to redo that. And so it's like a fiberglass roof. So my dad wanted to put on a plywood roof with like shingles and stuff like that. And they said, well, if you were going to do that, you'd have to have somebody come out and check to see if the structure is strong enough to support, you know, the roof and stuff like that. And so, and then if it does, and you wanted to go with that, you might need a permit. It depends. If it can't support it, then I think that's when you need a permit, because you'd have to add extra support and stuff like that, and they'd obviously have to make sure that it is stable. So that's when I think you would need it, but we'd have to have somebody come out anyway. So my dad was like, well, maybe we should just replace it with like fiberglass, or instead of the fiberglass, they also make PVC like roofing sort of pieces, and we were thinking of going with that because it's a lot sturdier, it's a lot darker. That's the one thing that we want, is it to be a lot darker, because if we do set up the projector outside in the little cabana, because we have our, you know, little curtains all set up out there, and it gets pretty dark in there, but there's still some light that's coming through and stuff like that, and it's pretty light on the actual like roof. So we were trying to look for darker colored, and the PVC doesn't let through, it seems like, as much light as the fiberglass does. So we were thinking of going with that also. And again, it's also like a sturdier sort of material, but we wouldn't need a permit to replace that, since we are just replacing, you know, what's already existing. But again, if we were to change sort of the structure of the, you know, deck, we would need to get a permit to do that, again, based on like load bearing, all that kind of stuff. So obviously, again, that sort of makes sense. It was weird though, because again, when we got our fence done, you would think that you would actually need a permit to get your fence done, but because they told us you're doing it in your backyard, you don't need one. It's weird. Like, they only have like, and maybe because we already had a fence at one point and we took it down, and then we're gonna put a new one up, even though we did sort of change like two parts of it. Like behind our garage, it actually used to jut out a little bit further, and also too, we didn't have it run the full length of our house. That's where we have our vegetable garden right now. But you know, they were like, we don't care as long as it's not in the front of your house, because if it's in the front of your house, you have to have it only so high. Like it can only be, I think, like a 3-foot tall fence. So like it can't be like ours, which is a privacy fence. I think it's 6 feet or something like that. Or maybe it's 8 feet. I don't think it's 8 feet. Maybe it is. I don't know. Actually, it might be 8 feet tall. But you know, like I was saying, you know, in like that case too, like, because if it's gonna like cover the front of your house, that's why you can only have certain like size fences, I guess, and stuff like that. But again, I thought it was sort of weird that we didn't need one for doing that. They were like, no, you don't, because it's in the back of your house. And again, I don't know if that was because we already had a pre-existing one, so they didn't make us get a new permit for it, or if it was just because, again, they just were like, it's the back of your house, we don't care. Even though, again, it butts up to like our neighbors and stuff like that. Like, to make sure, like, I always thought too, it was like to make sure that you're doing it like on your property too, and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, it wasn't on your neighbor's property. That's why you need a permit, to make sure that, like, you know, it's done properly. And so I don't know, I just thought that was weird. So like I said, my dad called today to ask about a couple things. Then he ended up calling the city works to ask about our trees on the parkway. And you know, he didn't get a hold of anybody though, because we had like 3 trees I think out there at one point, and all of them have been since torn down, either due to disease, and or I think one of them, the one in between ours and our neighbor's driveway, they took out because it was it ruined the bottom part of our driveway, because the tree dug into like half of our driveway. We can't even get actually a full car length on there. We have to actually drive on part of the grass when we pull out of the driveway. So again, they ended up taking that one down, and have since, again, I think that we had at least one, I think 2, one might have been on our neighbors, but it was like really close, like right between sort of both of them. But anyways, I think, again, we at least had 2, but we got them taken down, or the city came and took them down. And so you know, like last year, I think 2 years ago, they had a thing, they sent it out that was like, you know, we noticed, you know, we never replaced trees there, you guys get to pick what type you like, but they only have an allotted amount of trees that they plant per year, like on parkways, and it's free. You know, you just pick out the one you want, and then they just come and put it in for you. And our neighbors have had 2 trees now taken out, and they got 2 new trees, one last year I think, or maybe one 2 years ago, and then another one this year. And so my mom was like, we really need to like get that done and taken care of, because I think she either sent it in and they never ended up getting it, or it might have been like they were out of trees for that year or whatever. So then they never came and like did it again. So my dad called up and again didn't get hold of anybody, just told them like our address, and then also left his phone number. Never got a call back or anything like that. But while we were out at Menards, the guy, I guess, came to our house and was like talking to my mom, and said that they, you know, like, will send a thing over as soon as possible because they really want to get the trees put in. My mom was saying he was like so good at his job. He like remembered the trees that we used to have on our parkway. Like, he's obviously like dedicated to just doing like the trees or something like that. And you know, she said it was like really cool though, but he's like, oh yeah, you know, like a lot of people really like this one, and you know, like giving us all this information about all the different trees and, you know, all this different type of stuff. But I thought it was so cool that literally my dad called, and then again maybe like an hour later the guy shows up at our house and is like, yes, let's get this taken care of, sort of thing. So again, he's sending the thing over, you know, to us and everything like that. But I just thought that was like really cool that he just sort of showed up and was like, we can totally get this taken care of. And he's like, oh yeah, you know, we planted this type of tree over at this address, and you know, if you guys want to look to see, you know, because he like knows all of the trees that are in the whole neighborhood, probably in our whole city right now, and was pointing out like, you know, that tree over there, we planted that one a couple years ago, it won't get much taller than that. So if that's what you guys are thinking, like you don't want tall trees, you know, these are the ones that we suggest if you have power lines out in front of the house, because they don't get that tall, which we don't, is behind our house. So my mom was like, oh, that's a good to know, because we can plant, you know, a tree back there and it won't get too tall that they'll have to cut it down or trim it, you know, because of the power line. So he was again talking to my mom about all this kind of stuff. And she knew a lot too, because she was like, I really want this kind because I know it flowers, you know, all this kind of stuff. So again, he was like suggesting all this stuff, but I was like, it's crazy like that somebody literally came out the same day to our house and was able to like, you know, help us sort of answer all these questions. I was like, that's pretty cool, because like last year I think my dad tried, my mom and dad both at separate times tried, and I think they didn't give us the right extension actually, because my dad called a different department this time. So like now that we did though, and we got, then somebody came out that same day, I was like, that is efficient in the city, you know, getting that taken care of. So yeah, and we can have that, like I said, hopefully all put in this year. Those other trees too, which is like the one thing I've been dying for. I've been wanting a tree so quickly, and I've been really wanting, like, me and my mom have been talking about maybe doing one in the backyard, because we have no trees at all on our property, not even on our parkways, like nothing at all. We have the big burning bush, we have the forsythia bush, and we planted a couple in the last, you know, 3 years in the backyard, but they are not tall at all. Like, one is like not even as tall. None of them are as tall as me even. So, you know, like, that's it. That's all the birds really have even too. And so me and my mom were talking about doing one in the backyard and sort of going over like what kind do we want, and, you know, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, and he came out and we'll probably have this decided faster than what we were planning on planting. So yeah, really cool. But yeah, it was a hot day today, guys. I was loving that we have central air in. We did end up getting too much. We're finishing off that light in the backyard, but weren't able to completely get it finished. So yeah, we've got a couple other project stuff that we also have to finish up and get done for tomorrow. But again, my dad should be home until Monday, so we can get all that stuff all taken care of and do the bistro lights and do all that other fun stuff, you know. So yeah, guys, anyways, though, I will see you guys all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love it if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye, guys.